You probably noticed that I've been leaving this really long section on the bonnet that I've been recycling for steel for this project, and that was to do this long section on the front panel. But I've actually decided I won't actually do it in a big section. There's still quite good metal here in the middle, so I'll do it in 2 halves and leave this there as a guide, and it'll also help me to preserve the curve that should be there. So I'll go ahead, clean this up and put a fold in it, and then measure out the sections I'm going to fit it into. I bought 2 meters of angle iron and cut them in half so I could use them for folding metal in the vise. Just tapped it into shape. It's a little bit less than 90 degrees. I then marked out the first section I'm going to cut out and use the cutting disc on the grinder. I also clean back the paint along the edge so that it doesn't burn during welding. I use the wire wheel on the inside. So I just held up my folded metal to the original panel and marked where I need to cut for the piece I need to add in. I cut that out using my trusty snips. Clamped it all into place. And then started welding. A few tacks at first, then remove the clamps, and then continue along. Turned it over and marked out what I need to remove on the other side for the same job. You can see the curve in this section, so it's ideal doing it in 2 halves. Clean back the back of the welds that had come through from the other side, just nice and smooth, and it's a good sign that the weld was penetrating well. Clean back the paint again. And welded it in much the same as the other one. A few little taps with the hammers to line the old and the new metal up. And then joined them together. Flipped it over again and tidied up the front where the weld had come through a little bit. I was very pleased to see the 2 sides joined firmly again. For these lower sections, I marked out what I estimated should be there, cut out the very scarred metal and drilled the old spot welds. Had to clean off this seam sealant which was still holding it together. And then just tapped it off and used the chisel. A few little bits of metal still gripping. Couldn't continue to cut all the way down, so I snipped off this piece, bent a smaller bit remaining back, and then was able to get at it with the cutting disc. Cleaned off a few other little bits of seam sealant and straightened up the edge using the hammers. I marked out the cutout template. I'm using the remains of that wing that I bought. I only really needed the arch from it, so you getting through that panel now as well. Nothing is wasted in the Vantage Point video garage. Snip that out. Just managed to get my shape around the formed creases in that. Did my own forming then. Back in the vise. This one's the full 90 degrees. Clean back my edges again. Bit of weld through primer on the overlap of both pieces. Left that a while to dry. Then came back and fitted in my piece using the grips. Continuous weld just around that fixing point, and then cleaned out where the spot welds had been so I could do some plug welding there. Flipped it around and made a similar piece for the other side and welded that in using the same procedure. This panel's really come on a long way. I'm very happy with that.